Okay, disclaimer. I have not played this or any FNaF game aside from VR, so I know it's not entirely fair for me to provide my 2 cents on this topic, but you know, I've seen enough of this franchise. I've watched Markiplier's Let's Play of Sister Location, and I've seen almost every game theory video on the series, so I'm basically a pro when it comes to this kind of stuff. Not to mention, there's not a lot of player input to begin with, let's be honest. You're still experiencing the same amount of suspense when watching it as you would be playing it, I presume. And who needs to play a game to form an opinion on it? I haven't played Uncharted 2, but I can totally give an objective review of that game. Look, I'll do it right now. It's bad because the name Nathan is a stupid name. Okay, enough of that. Five Nights at Freddy's, a series that really needs no introduction. It's been going on since 2014, has garnered a massive and, let's say, interesting fan base, and it's got merch flooding out of every store in North America. There's many reasons for this popularity: the amount of YouTubers who played it, lore deeper than your mom, and of course, the jump scares, the cotton candy of horror. All fluff, no substance. Each game has it, meaning that in terms of horror, they all more or less fall under the same umbrella. It's not so much the jump scare itself you fear, more so the anxiety it gives you before it. Despite these games all being like this, I believe there is one in particular that rises above the rest in the horror elements, and is in fact the scariest FNaF game. You've read the title, Sister Location. Also, this video does not count Help Wanted. It's in VR. Of course it's going to be the scariest one in the franchise. There's just no contest. With that being said, please sit back, relax, kick your feet up, put your head down, put it back up, I'm still talking here, and allow me to tell you why FNaF Sister Location is the scariest game in the FNaF series. So after conducting decades of research, I've concluded that the main reason Sister Location is the scariest is because it has the most elements of actual horror out of every game in the franchise. There's still jump scares aplenty, but when it comes to horror elements that do more than just startle you, this game has the most prominent cases of them. Now, don't get me wrong, each game has this type of horror to a certain extent. Foxy running down the hall in FNaF 1, the atmosphere of FNaF 3, the animatronics in FNaF 4 visually are enough to give anyone the creeps, but only in Sister Location did I truly feel scared when watching it. That didn't come from the anxiety of waiting for a jump scare, mind you. You see, Sister Location is structured differently from the rest of the series. Each night, you're given a different task to complete. Instead of sitting in one room the entire time like the previous games, this has you going from place to place, getting very close to the animatronics, probably the closest you've gotten to them as a player besides the jump scares. This allows the game to become more creative when it comes to scaring the player. Case in point, the sections that involve you crossing from room to room. In the case of crossing Bellora's room, she relies on noise to find where you are. When you move, she hears and starts heading towards you, which is indicated by the tune she plays. That tune, along with being able to see her actually moving across the room, is what makes this section so scary. It is still from anxiety, preparing yourself for a jump scare, but there's an actual setup, a visual indication that Bellora is hunting you and that you are in extreme danger, instead of previous games where it's mostly just still images that move from room to room on the cameras, and much of the same can be said for Foxy's section. Foxy is different, however, in the sense that you are in complete darkness the entire time with only a flash to guide you, and every time that flash goes off, there's a chance he can be in full view, which only makes him more agitated. In Foxy's case, the fear is not in what you can see, it's with what you can't. Another example of how creative this game gets is when you're fixing Funtime Freddy in the parts and services room. Firstly, just being that close to him is scary enough, Jesus, look at him. But the game then has you pressing buttons on his body in order to fix him. It tells you to press his face, his exoskeleton, and then it decides to get piss your pants terrifying. The recorded voice tells you to press the button on Freddy's microphone. Simple enough, you think to yourself. Then it tells you to press the button on the nose of the Bonnie puppet. Now, the microphone and the Bonnie puppet are in different hands, so you're all the way over on one side of the screen when it tells you to do that. So you move your flashlight over to him, and he's gone. Now, if I told you my eyes didn't bulge out of my skull when I saw this, I'd be lying, because it is straight horrifying. It's unexpected, it's never hinted that the puppet can move on its own before that, you just know it can talk, and other than a cheap jump scare that doesn't even kill you, you've most likely let your guard down, thinking to yourself, okay, I just have to press the right buttons and I'll win, no problem. And then the game pulls that. I don't care who you are, the puppet disappearing is easily, hey that's me, one of, if not the scariest moments in the entire franchise. Every single possible jump scare in this game has setups like this. In previous games, a lot of the jump scares just kind of happen. You'll have your camera up and then boom, jump scare. There's no suspense and there's no build-up. The games had relied solely on the jump scares for fear in the player, but here, Take the first night, for example. When you're holding the vent closed, you'll see eyes peeking through the holes as the vents become pried open. When restarting all the systems, also on the first night, Funtime Freddy is in the exact same room as you, taunting you in the darkness, and if you want to finish the job, you have to divert your attention off him. When stuck in the suit on the fourth night, Ballora's ballerinas are constantly crawling into your suit. These setups make Sister Location. They're the reason this game is the scariest in the franchise. It doesn't just stop at setups though, there's a ton of little more smaller things. The animatronics not showing up on the stage when checking on them or showing up all distorted. The silhouettes of the maintenance workers hanging from nooses on the fifth night. This game pulls no punches. The bad ending of the game sees your character getting his insides scooped out and replaced with animatronic parts. The designs of the animatronics look all glossy and bubbly, when in reality they are capable of holding children inside their chest cavities. That is straight nightmare fuel. It's one thing to have spirits of kids possessing animatronic suits, but physical corpses stuck in them? That's horrifying. That's actually horrifying. This game is such a change in tone from the rest of the series, and that's because of all these elements, these actual sequences of horror. It's not just jump scares here, which are some of the scariest in the franchise, mind you, but it doesn't rely on them for the main source of fear, instead relying on actual set pieces and genuine build-up as the reason for keeping you on edge, and it works extremely well here, making this game, without a doubt, excluding FNaF VR, the scariest in the franchise. But hey, as I said in the beginning of the video, this is coming from a guy who hasn't actually played it, so I guess my opinion is technically null and void. But I want to know, what do you think is the scariest FNaF game? And I also want to know if I actually provided any solid evidence for my opinion. Let me know in the comments below. But with that all said, I'm Easily Easy, and I'll see you next time.